To me, this boils down to something that we talked about earlier. It's just humility, and humility then allows you to be flexible. Because if you're not humble enough to say, hey, there's a decent chance that this could be the way, but there's also a decent chance that it's not. So let's keep a flexible, open mind and take iterative steps in directions and try and cover as many bases as we can without overcommitting anywhere.
But here's what I think the Army's perspective is that I think that they're gearing up for, they're like, the greatest threat to us is China, and if we don't radically shift the way that we are organized, okay, let's say we get it wrong and like turns out we need to be a counter-terror, we need to go back to that. It'll be much easier to do that than it would be to really organize ourselves in a way where we can deter China. And every system that they're procuring and setting up, it's all just based around how do we account for the fact that we're going to be outnumbered many times over in the Pacific and fighting from these little islands. It seems to me that they're like doubling down on that. It also, in terms of the way our alliances are set up, they're like, we are going to let Europe have to invest more in their defense, and we're going to tell our allies that they need to step up to the plate in Africa and in Europe, and we're not going to be there anymore because, it seems to me that they're just saying we need to have everything ready to go for the Pacific.
Yeah. And I guess the way that you would flush that out from a planning standpoint is to say that's like our worst case scenario, right? And as long as we're prepared for the worst case scenario, we can adapt from there.
Yes.
So yeah, that's, I think, as it should be, right? We need to be prepared for this worst case scenario over here. And meanwhile, that will give us the flexibility to do other things, because if we're prepared for this worst case scenario, if we have to do something less than that, we can manage. Yeah. How about the Foreign Legion? I know you spent some time with the Foreign Legion, and I mentioned Jonathan Mayhem Pebley at the beginning. How are those guys doing?
I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's actually been the thing that's been weighing on me and been on my mind. And I know that video meant a lot to him, and he was very proud of being interviewed in that video, and it was seen by, I think, over 2 million people around that. And his father reached out to me and emailed me just last week and said how he was very proud of that video, and I'm in contact with sending him the footage now, and I'm just glad that I got to highlight who he was, what he believed in, what he was fighting for, and the sacrifice that he made. Jonathan, he was a character. He was so animated, and when I immediately started talking to him, I could just tell that he's a character and has a lot of personality and very forward with his thoughts and beliefs. He was willing to go on camera and speak with me, which meant a lot. And we stayed in touch on Instagram, actually. We would talk, and I'd ask for like, hey, how you doing? Updates. He would tell me that he was volunteering for more units that were in an assault position. He really wanted to be in the fight. He was doing what he wanted to do. And it shocked me when I found that out, and I saw it was going around on Russian channels. They were using photographs from our interview and saying like this American got killed, and he's only one of 40 American veterans who are veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan who have been killed in Ukraine. He's one of 40. He was a veteran of Fallujah, and I'm just happy that I can highlight him, and that he wanted that. I don't know. It's been bothering me a bit, because there was also the Bradley guys that I interviewed are also MIA, I heard, and it's sad for me, difficult, and I feel like I don't know why, because like I only knew him very briefly, but I don't know, something we clicked and got along well.
And one of the things that he was saying, it sort of was kind of heartbreaking, was like he felt like what fighting in Iraq was maybe not justified, not the right thing to do, and he felt, for lack of a better word, I don't think he used this word, but guilty, felt like there was some kind of guilty conscience about what he had done in Iraq, and now to sort of sort out his karma in the world, he was doing a good thing here by fighting in Ukraine, which he believed was the right thing to do and was a just cause. How'd that land with you and your experiences?
When he said that, it crystallized things for me. I realized, I'm like, in a way, I was also trying to close a chapter of my life and get some closure on feelings that were sort of unclear for me about how I felt about the war in Ukraine or in Iraq. And then the war in Ukraine sort of was the fight that I think kind of all wanted the war in Iraq and Afghanistan to be. He felt like he was protecting people that were being invaded against, and in some way finding, he was looking for closure on that chapter. It's difficult hearing from his father and his friends and his family and all the people that he's had a positive impact on in his life. And the scale of the losses there is just, I guess it shouldn't surprise me, but
I was watching another video from the Azov YouTube, and there was another former Marine veteran, a guy, call sign was Uno, and he had one eye, and he lost one of his eye in some kind of an incident in the Marine Corps. He didn't mention what it was, but he said something that landed pretty hard on me when you talk about the level of devastation and the number of casualties. He said something along the lines of the GWAT veterans saw combat. This is war. And, again, when you see what it's like over there, and especially the pictures of the front line, and this kind of reminded me of, and part of the piece that you did reminded me of some of the guys that I've had on that were in Vietnam, but they were Vietnamese. They were Vietnamese, South Vietnamese Army special operations guys. And they would go and hit a target at, 2:00 in the afternoon, kill a bunch of Viet Cong or kill a bunch of North Vietnamese, come home, clean up, or go back to base, clean up, and then go have dinner with their wife. And they did this for 10 years. And so that's another thing that I saw, from the Ukrainians. It's like, you're going to fight. So it's almost like the American World War II, which is, when you're going to go home? When we win. Like, there's no other way. And this is something I've kind of had a project in the back of my mind for a long time of, why we've lost wars and how we've lost wars, because we won World War I and World War II. What do you give Korea? Maybe a draw. But you go to Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and in my mind, one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason why we lost those wars is because we didn't need to win.